BooTube! Hi BooTube! I'm back. The last video should have been part 3, but alas, like I said in the last video, I had to stop it in the middle of all of it because someone was at my house, and that someone is actually my dad, who came to visit me, which is pretty funny. And if you're wondering who this is, it's Disney Tsum Tsum, the white rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. I have a bunch of these, actually. I have like a shitload of Tsum Tsum. See, look at this. Shums! But anyway, I'm gonna put this one away, because I want Toro. Remember Toro? Yes, a blue Totoro. The tiny one. You remember the mini size one? But anyway, he's cold. But anyway, back to where I left off. If I remember correctly, I left off at Morgan bringing dead Tabitha and the dead walker he killed that killed Tabitha back with him to Eastman, and Eastman's there already like digging up a hole to bury the last walker, which happens to be the teenager that Morgan killed. I'm sorry, I'm looking up at the same time because my TV's on and it's playing Kill Bill right now. I put it on mute so no one could hear it. But anyway, Eastman is pretty much burying the hole to bury the kid, and you could tell that the walker bite is seriously getting to him. Like, he's getting a little clammy. If you know what that means, he's like pale and sweaty, sticky, kind of clammy looking. And so, like, Morgan being now kind of zen now, he's like, hey, Eastman, just sit down, I'll take care of this. Here's the ID to this next walker dude, so you could write the name. I'll do all the digging and all that stuff, right? And you feel bad for Eastman because he's like, oh, Tabitha got out and she got eaten, right? Because, you know, before Morgan got to the cabin, it was just Eastman and Tabitha. And so Tabitha's now gone. So I feel kind of bad for him on that one. But, like, anyway, while Morgan was digging, he notices a grave marker. And if you guys remember, earlier in the episode, Eastman mentions this prisoner dude who he believed was a sociopath, and apparently he also learned that this sociopath ended up being a guy who killed Eastman's entire family, his wife, his son, and his daughter. And he never really did get the full story if Eastman actually did what he did, and what I mean is, like, earlier in the episode, Eastman was like, you know, because of what he did to my wife and my kids, I really wanted to, like, just kidnap him and place him in this prison cell that I built inside my cabin to hold him in there and just starve him to death, and he never really did continue that story. Hang on, sorry, ooh, look at her in the Bruce Lee looking outfit. I'm sorry. Anyway, sorry, that movie's so distracting. I was spending like a minute just staring at that. But anyway, he pretty much told Morgan he wanted to put the sociopath in his little jail cell and starve him. We never really did find out until pretty much right at that moment what really happened. And turns out the grave marker that Morgan spots happens to be the grave marker to the very prisoner who killed Eastman's family. And Eastman actually admits, like, yeah, I really did want to kidnap him and lock him in the cell and watch him starve, which he actually did. He kidnapped him, locked him in the newly built cell that he put in the cabin, and pretty much watched him starve to death. And if I remember correctly, he even said the exact amount of days. He said he starved him to death for 47 days. So I was like, holy shit, damn. That's, I understand, though, because he's a psychiatrist, and he pretty much saw how crazy this guy was, and this guy obviously was just, in a way, kind of like stalking Eastman, you know? because he pretty much stalked Eastman, got to his wife and kids, killed him. So I really don't blame Eastman for doing what he did. If all honesty, if I was in his shoes, I'd probably do the same damn thing. Probably even worse, knowing me, but, seeing his face when he actually found out Eastman actually did what he said he wanted to do, and like how Eastman told Morgan, after all that, after I killed Eastman, it didn't give me any peace. Like, he pretty much told Morgan, you know, when my family died, I was where you were. I was insane, I was crazy, I didn't want to open a door to try to move on and all that stuff. And so, hang on. Anyway, like, sorry. I like that character in Kill Bill 1. Sorry. But anyway, Morgan finding out Eastman was pretty much like him, you know, after he lost his family, and how he found peace, and the fact that because he killed the prisoner that killed his family, pretty much starved him to death, it didn't bring him any peace. That's why Eastman was telling him, you know, I get where you're at. I've been there. But when I pretty much starved a man to death, it didn't give me any peace at all about my family's death. And because of it, I vowed to never kill again. And now I'm all zen and all that stuff. And I understand. I would have done what Eastman did. I probably would have done worse, but at the same time, it wouldn't really bring me peace because it wouldn't bring my family back. And then I would have to live with that. It's kind of like guilt, you know, I killed somebody. You know what I mean? Kind of like Eastman, you know, you killed somebody, and even though you got in someone's eyes, it would have been like avenging your family, it wouldn't bring them back. You know what I mean? And you also find out that Eastman tried to turn himself in. By the time he was about to turn himself in for that, that's when all shit hit the fan and the apocalypse all started. So yeah, that's pretty much Eastman's backstory, and I kind of feel for the dude, you know? I can very much relate to Eastman if that ever happened. But anyway, Eastman, since he knows he's dying because he got bit, he's like, I'm giving you this cabin. Excuse me, I just burped. I'm sorry. He's like, sorry. He's like offering the cabin and all the belongings to Morgan and tells him like, you know, I'm giving the cabin, I give you all my belongings, but Morgan, dude, I advise you not to be alone because all I had was Tabitha, and it's just wrong. You know, if you're gonna have my cabin and my belongings in the cabin, don't be alone for do it. So basically, he's pretty much telling Morgan, you can have my home, have all the belongings and stuff, just don't be here alone, which is pretty cool. So maybe, just maybe, you know, Morgan will remember that, and he'll be like, bring Rick and the others there. You'll never know. If Alexandria hits the fan, Morgan will take him to the cabin. I'm just saying. Because technically now, Eastman gave the cabin to Morgan. He said, it's yours as long as you're not alone, so maybe if Alexandria ever hit the fan, Morgan will just have Rick or whoever with him in the cabin, and they'll be okay. Hey! But anyway, like, you pretty much see Morgan leave the cabin in the outfit that you saw him when you first see him on screen again. And, like, he's passing the grave, and you finally see Eastman's grave marker, which means he obviously buried Eastman, he died. And that's when you actually see Morgan actually sees the sign that leads to Terminus, and that's how you know Morgan ended up heading toward Terminus during that last season. So that pretty much settles that, and I was like, everything just started making sense. I was like, oh, thank God. Everything that from seeing Morgan this season and the last season finally freaking made sense to me after seeing that. But anyway, in the present time, you actually find out who Morgan is telling the story to, and it actually is the Walker. Why the hell did I say Walker? Probably because they both start with W. But anyway, it ends up being the very same wolf that attacked him. And if you remember in the last episode, you thought that maybe Morgan might have killed that dude, right? Because it's like off screen, and whack, and you think, oh, maybe he killed him. But when you hear the whacking noise of the stick, it did not sound like a kill shot to me when he did it. So I didn't think he was dead, because one, Morgan doesn't like to kill people, and two, when you hear the stick hit the guy, it doesn't sound like a kill shot. So turns out I was right, because the wolf is alive, and Morgan has him tied up in what looks like the abandoned house that Rick was held in. Do you remember when Rick went batshit crazy and like they literally had to knock his ass out, and he ends up being unconscious on a little mattress in what looks like an unfinished house? Yeah, I think that might be the place where the wolf is being held. But anyway, Morgan basically told the story to the wolf because he's hoping to convince the wolf to change, just like Morgan did with Eastman. But the wolf is like, I'm injured and I could die, but you know what? If I do manage to survive my injury, I'm gonna kill you, Morgan, and kill every Alexandria, because that is his code. And so, in all honesty, I think that wolf is pretty much, to Morgan, what Eastman's little criminal dude was to him. Because, you know, Eastman's prisoner killed his family, and he was a complete sociopath. He was a psycho. And I think that this wolf is pretty much Morgan's psycho prisoner, just like Eastman. So I think that's why I believe Morgan, when he left the wolf like tied up like that, he locked the door, because he could see that this wolf is unrepentant, you know what I mean? He doesn't trust him. So he pretty much locks the door, and that's basically when Morgan's all like, I don't think this guy could be saved, and all of a sudden you hear, I didn't know who it was, but you hear someone screaming, open the gates, and you find out that it's actually Rick. So it's been confirmed that the guy shouting at the end of the episode saying open the gates is Rick Grimes himself. So obviously, from the last time we saw him, we saw Rick inside the broken down RV being surrounded by walkers, and obviously he escaped from that, because it's been confirmed that the guy screaming saying open the gates is Rick. So I want to see how he managed to escape, you know, being trapped in a broken down RV and surrounded by walkers. So finally it's over. This episode was a good pace for me. I mean, after what happened in episode 3, I was completely traumatized with Glenn, and I'm still in denial of it. So this was a good pace for me to kind of calm myself after the last episode, and also the fact that you finally get some closure in a way with Morgan, you know, how he went from batshit crazy to completely zen, and what and who was the cause of it, how he became a badass with a freaking bow staff. And also, like, it answered some of my questions, like why he left his apartment, and why he left the town, and why he offered those random ass items on the altar. I should have mentioned more of those items. There was the bullet that he got from the couple, the lucky rabbit foot he ended up getting from Eastman, and apparently that lucky rabbit foot that Eastman gave Morgan was actually his daughter's. And then there was that, I think it was like some sort of sweet or like a candy or something, a pastry or something. And it turns out to be like a candy bar thing, I think. I'm not sure what type of candy, or pastry, I don't know. But he also got that from Eastman. Apparently it's Eastman's favorite thing to eat when he was in the cabin. So yeah, and that was a pretty cool thing. It's a good closure to pretty much what happened to Morgan from the last time we saw him up until this season and the last season. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I'm kind of dreading the next episode. So bear with me, guys. I'm going as fast as I can, and as far as for now, I'm going to be working on The Walking Dead, Once Upon a Time, Arrow, The Flash, and when it comes on, I will work on Legends of Tomorrow, and I'm also working on Supergirl. So wish me luck, guys. And if I do catch up on all those, hopefully I could catch up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a fat chance on my end, but I'll try with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I will also try with Gotham, because I love those shows too. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.
Bye.